Welcome back to Birthday May, aka Bridgerton month. I'm actually recording this on the eve of my birthday, but by the time you watch this, I will officially be 29 years old. Can you imagine how wise that makes me? Not very much. But we have hot pink hair now, and that's all that really matters. But coming on to today's video, let's now work on a more nuanced portrait skill. Last week we did a bunch of caricatures where our goal was to take these characters and make them look more like themselves than they even do. Today we're going to take that skill and refine it and focus on achieving a good likeness for a portrait. And last week, since we looked at the protagonist of the first two seasons, today let's shift our focus to the protagonist of Bridgerton Season 3, Penelope Featherington. Pen is absolutely one of my absolute favourite characters on the show, and I'm so excited to see what she evolves into starting next week. I actually chose a promo image from the season 3 teasers for this because look how beautiful that image is. And today we're going to try and nail the likeness with the head at an angle. I feel like nailing the likeness is a lot easier when the character is looking head on. So this is going to be a fun little challenge. Of course, if you enjoyed this video and learned something today, please do remember to like and subscribe. Comment below your biggest takeaway from this tutorial and come say hello on Instagram and Discord. Links are all down in the description. And if you're ready, let's dive into Bridgerton month, episode 2. Alright, no messing around, let's dive right into the study. I chose this reference because first of all, look how beautiful she is. But second of all, the mood and lighting is just absolutely perfect. Challenges right out the gate though, the head is at an angle. And I want to talk about this because I want you to understand that even after an entire decade of painting faces consistently, there will always be challenges. And that is a good thing because it means you will always have something to work towards. Maybe it's just the Aries in me, but I love having something to work towards. But as with every sketch, I always like to start very zoomed out, find place markers for the outer edges before getting the construction lines in. And then we do a very rough sketch before lowering the opacity and zooming in. I never expect the first sketch to look anything like the reference because we're initially working on just the placement. It is when we lower the opacity and do a clean sketch that we can start thinking about shape matching. When it comes to likeness, there are 3 specific tricks that I like to pull. First is tracing and recreating shapes using hand motions. No, we're not actually tracing, that doesn't teach us anything. Instead, I like to have the reference on the same screen and sort of go over certain shapes in the facial features. With this reference, I kind of mimic tracing over the shapes of her eyelids and mouth, as well as the bridge of her nose. Sometimes I do it a couple of times right up until the movement is in my memory. Then it's about replicating that motion on your canvas. And boom, you've nailed the shape likeness. The other 2 tips have to do with rendering, so we'll get to that in a sec. Also, when it comes to a portrait like this, it helps to think of the silhouette in terms of the negative space. So what are the shapes of the background and what do their silhouettes look like, as opposed to what is the shape of her silhouette? It can simplify things a lot more than trying to figure out the edges that her face, hair, and dress make against the background. Alright, next tip for likeness, color match without color picking. You've seen me do this on style studies all the time, and it has honestly helped me understand and replicate color so much better. As you know, I like to have my reference in a pure ref window, and when it's time to block in our first colors, I zoom in really close and make sure that the color that I want to match is at the very edge of the pure ref window. Then on my canvas, I try to match that color by starting with what seems vaguely similar, then shifting the hue, saturation, and lightness until it looks like a seamless color that goes from the reference right onto my canvas. Initially, I did this for her skin just to have a base to block in for Penelope, and then I went about roughly matching and painting in the background. With moody portraits like this one, I like to paint the background first because it really sets the tone for both the hues and the values. When we know how dark or light, warm or cool the background is, it gives us a really good frame of reference for when it comes to matching the values and temperature of the subject themselves. I know I'm throwing a ton of information at you today, but hey, I want you to be able to do likeness well, and it might help to take notes and go back to them until all of this becomes unconscious habit. And after that, I went about color matching the hair and the dress in the same way that we did the skin. And now we have all our prep in place, we can dive into my third trick for likeness, and this one is all about the rendering. This is such a simple trick, but it will really help you nail the values, and that is to squint at your reference till it goes blurry. Now, if your eyes don't do that on command, I know some people can't do it, simply blur the reference image digitally and it's the same effect. When you look at a blurry version of the reference, it gets rid of all the small details that can be a massive distraction when you're first trying to put down the values. As you can tell, I started with very low contrast in the skin because I was focused on just the high points of her face that are in the light. But when I later squinted at the reference, I noticed just how important those shadows are that really sculpt the form of her face. And it's the same with the hair. I started too low contrast, and that was really causing us to lose all that beautiful structure in her curls. Then again, curly hair is always an extra challenge, but it was important for this image because her hair really does stand out as a noticeable feature with Penelope's character. I then set about deepening the shadows further, trying to get the form of her face. However, after sleeping on this painting, I realized that her eyes and the far side of her face were really just not quite as close a resemblance as I wanted, so I ended up liquefying a lot. Which, by the way, massive shout out to @SylvesterLazarus, who wrote this incredibly helpful comment telling me to use a small selection of the canvas to liquefy. Oh my god, it worked like a charm. The liquefy tool was so much faster with a small selection of the face rather than trying to liquefy the entire layer. Thank you so much, Sylvester. You've genuinely made life so much easier for me, and I'm sure for anyone else watching this video who uses Krita. Towards the end, I really spent some time trying to get the textures right, especially with her hair. I went through a lot of brushes to try and get those curls looking nice and textured while still maintaining their smooth and structured look. The areas of frizz were particularly challenging, but honestly, I quite like the look in portraits anyway, where things get a little rougher as you go further away from the face, so it really wasn't too big an issue. All in all, this is literally the best study that I've ever done, you guys. Like, I actually want to cry because it turned out so good. What do you think? Oh, I love how this portrait turns out. But do you think we nailed the likeness? What was your biggest takeaway from this video? Comment below and let me know. And of course, if you enjoyed it and learned something new today, please do remember to give me a big thumbs up so I know to make more videos like this one. Subscribe to my channel and make sure you have those notifications turned on so you know when every single upload drops. And come say hello on Instagram and Discord. The links are down in the description below. Of course, if you enjoy what I do and would like to support my work and also grab exclusive rewards such as all the speed paints from start to finish, extra tutorials that are not on YouTube, as well as my extended brush kit and now print every few months, you can check it all out on my Patreon. I'll leave a link up here in the cards and in the description below. Your support goes a long way in helping me continue making these videos for free on YouTube. So thank you so much for checking it out and for supporting my work. And that's about everything for this video. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. If you missed last week's video where we looked at caricatures, there was a lot to learn there. So I'll leave that video here in the outro. Make sure you check it out and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye!